Next will be public hearings. We're moving to item number 8. Appeal of the Planning Commission's denial of precise plan number 577 and the conditional use permit number 1929, and the Planning Commission's recommendation that the City Council deny General Plan Amendment number 23-01 and Zoning Map Amendment number 436. Presentation by our Principal Planner, Stephen Ayers. There he is. Welcome.
It is. Can't put a community plan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Tonight we're going to be looking at Parkside Fountain Valley project, which is an appeal of the Planning Commission's determination on the project. The project is located on the west side of the city near Warner Avenue and Newland Street on the star on your screen. This is a site plan of the existing site, the existing commercial site. Red outline is the property boundary. The proposed entitlements for this project include a general plan amendment to change the general plan designation from general commercial to high density residential, a zoning map amendment to change the zoning map from C1 local business to R4 high density multiple dwelling, a precise plan for the site plan review, and a conditional use permit to allow multifamily in the R4 zone, in the proposed R4 zone. There was also CEQA done on this project through a mitigated negative declaration. It includes a mitigated mitigation monitoring and reporting program. The existing site is a 2.119 acre property that includes an existing 18,000 square foot commercial shopping center constructed in the 1970s. The proposed project includes a 3-story, 34 feet tall apartment building with 72 units at just over 76,000 square feet. It includes an 800 square foot 1-story clubhouse building, an open space amenity area, 10 deed restricted very low income units, 13.2% density bonus, which would bring the density of the project to 34 dwelling units per acre. And it's comprised of 9 studio units, 37 one-bedroom units, and 26 two-bedroom units. The project includes a U-shaped building fronting on a Warner Avenue. The elevations will incorporate a contemporary design with a mix of texture finishes and colors that will include standing seam roofs and metal canopies. The project will include 107 on-site parking spaces. State density bonus law requires 85, so this is 22 spaces over state density bonus law. Carports will be located along the south property line. Will be equipped with rooftop solar panels. Shared access will be provided with the adjacent animal hospital from Warner Avenue. Gated entry to the apartments will be provided at the southwest corner of the project. And emergency access will be provided through an 18-foot tall opening at the northeast corner of the project. The project will provide about just under 19,000 square feet of landscaping. It'll provide a 10-foot landscape barrier along the south side of the project. That'll include 7 24-inch box trees at the southwest and southeast corners of the project, and the remainder of the south property line will be planted with purple hopseed bush. The project is proposed to be built with 10 deed-restricted, very low-income units. The applicant has requested a density bonus pursuant to the state density bonus law. And with that, requested 3 concessions to our code. The first being a reduction in the minimum required 100-foot rear setback to single-family residential to 37 feet 9 inches at the southeast corner and 73 feet 2 inches to the southwest corner of the project. A reduction in the minimum private open space requirement of 100 square feet with a minimum dimensions of 10 feet to a minimum 65 square feet with a minimum dimension of 7 feet, and to increase the maximum dwelling units per parcel to 1.13 units per 1,452 square feet. Under the California Environmental Quality Act, a mitigated negative declaration was prepared for this project. The MND was published for public review from January 14th to February 13th of this year. 9 comment letters were received that include comments on nearby contaminated sites, traffic, parking, and noise. Responses to those comments are found in Appendix J of the MND and the response to comments document. And it was determined that no comments were deemed significant enough to warrant revisions to the MND. The mitigated negative declaration includes mitigation measures that include mitigation to air quality to address construction emissions reductions, biological resources to address nesting bird avoidance, cultural resources to address unanticipated discovery of cultural resources and artifacts, and geology and soils to address unanticipated fossil discovery. For the city transportation impact assessment guidelines, a traffic impact analysis or a TIA with a level of service analysis is required if the AM or PM peak hour trips exceed 100 vehicle trips. And this project was projected to generate 31 AM and 37 PM peak vehicle trips. A TIA is required for a project that generates 1,600 or more average daily trips. The project is projected to generate 471 daily trips. A TIA is required for projects that generate 51 or more vehicle trips in the AM or PM peak hour to any intersection. This project is projected to provide fewer than 50 peak hour trips to any intersection of 2 streets designated as collector or higher in the general plan. Because this project doesn't exceed these requirements, a traffic impact study was not warranted. A vehicle miles traveled analysis was also addressed. The project can be screened from a VMT analysis if the project is located within a transit priority area, the project is located within a low VMT area, or if the project qualifies under a project screening type. The project is located within an area below the city average VMT. Therefore, the project satisfies the city established screening criteria for projects located in a low VMT area, and the project's VMT impact would be less than significant. So the Planning Commission held a public hearing and considered the project on March 25th of this year, and the Planning Commission voted 4-1 to return with confirming resolutions memorializing their decision. At the Planning Commission meeting of April 8th, the Planning Commission voted 2-1, approving resolutions to recommend denial of the general plan amendment and zoning map amendment, and denying precise plan, the proposed precise plan and conditional use permit. And then on April 20th of this year, the applicant filed an appeal of the Planning Commission's actions, and that brings us to tonight. Per the Fountain Valley Municipal Code, the council's review of an appeal is de novo, which means a new or a fresh or from the beginning. So the council must independently consider the full record of the project. As I stated before, the project requires a general plan amendment and a zoning map amendment because multifamily is not permitted in a commercial area, and a precise plan and conditional use permit for the site plan, layout and use of the multifamily in the R4 zone, in the proposed R4 zone. The site is designated General Commercial Zone C1 Local Business and is located within an established corridor of commercial uses along Warner Avenue. The General Plan Land Use Framework preserves commercial areas to support local serving businesses, employment opportunities, economic development, and long-term fiscal sustainability. The city may consider the limited inventory of commercially designated land in the city and the importance of maintaining commercial corridors when deciding whether to approve an applicant-initiated general plan amendment and zoning map amendment. The city may consider that retaining the site's commercial designation better implements the general plan and the city's long-term land use and fiscal sustainability objectives. So the project, there's three findings that the project fails to meet. The project fails to meet general plan policy, land use 1-1, 1.1, 1.2, and 3.2. Policy 1.1 requires that new development is located, scaled, buffered, and designated to minimize negative impacts on existing conforming uses and adjacent neighborhoods. It requires that new residential developments are located, scaled, buffered, and designed so as to not hinder the economic viability and continuity of areas planned for non-residential uses. Policy LU 1.2 states to consider proposed development that is consistent with the land use plan, i.e. does not require a change in land use designation, to be generally compatible and consistent with surrounding land uses and a community's identity. And policy LU 3.2 states to ensure that all new development is compatible with the scale and character of the surrounding neighborhoods in Fountain Valley. So with that, the project fails to meet general plan policies LU 1.1, 1.2, and 3.2. The proposed land use is incompatible with surrounding development pattern, which consists of an established commercial corridor extending from Newland Street past the 405 freeway to Bouchard Street, as well as adjacent low-density single-family residential neighborhoods. The requested general plan amendment and zoning map amendment would represent a significant departure from the city's established corridor of commercial uses along Warner Avenue, undermining its intended commercial function. Retention of the existing commercial zoning designation and general commercial land use designation preserves the city's limited commercially designated land inventory and maintains opportunities for local serving commercial uses, employment, economic development, and long-term fiscal sustainability with the city's planning objectives. The current vacancy, current ownership decisions, and the applicant's preferred economic use do not require the city to amend its general plan or zoning map or to permanently convert commercially designated land to residential use. The project's scale and architectural character are not compatible with the surrounding neighborhoods, which are predominantly comprised of one-story single-family homes with limited two-story elements to the south, and similarly low-density residential neighborhoods to the north in the city of Huntington Beach, where only a small minority of homes include second-story features. So with that, staff's recommendation to City Council is to conduct a public hearing and approve the following two resolutions. A resolution denying general plan amendment number 2301 and denying zoning map amendment number 436. And then a resolution denying the appeal and upholding the denial of precise plan number 577 and conditional use permit number 1929. And that concludes staff report.
Thank you, Principal Planner Ayers. So the next stage is going to ask council members if they have any questions. So we'll open it up for questions. Councilmember?
Actually, I'm just going to ask Katie if you wouldn't mind turning the flash off on your phone. It's very distracting. I don't think you need that for a video.
You didn't need to have flash.
I understand.
No reasonable request denied.
Thank you. I actually have questions, I think more for the developer, so I'll wait.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions at this stage from council? No? Yes, Councilman Bui.
Steve, thank you for the presentation. It was very well, thorough. I want to ask you, when was the applicant, first application submitted?
I don't have that with me. I believe it was in 2023.
So 23, so they've been working with the city about 3 years?
Yeah.
That's the first application they submitted? Okay. And how many, because you have said that there was a lot of things that, the applicant fell on, on the, in terms of policies, not proper zoning and all that. Was that identified and as you work with the applicant, were many of those revisions with the applicant made to his comment, so hey, this project's not gonna work. You're in the wrong zoning to begin with. Was that discussion ever brought it up?
Yes, we did have those discussions, and they've applied for a general plan amendment and a zoning map amendment, so they know that they need that to get their project approved.
Okay, all right, I'm going to leave that for now.
Okay. Any other questions at this stage? Nope. Okay. So next, we're going to move into the public hearing. I'm going to go ahead and open the hearing. Just wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. I'd like to read, just for the benefit of the applicant and for all of us here and those watching. So in our current city council policy binder, this is on page 54, I just want to read the 3-minute time limit generally applying to public speakers does not apply to the applicant or other person entity that is the direct subject of an agendized item. Instead, the applicant or other person entity that is the direct subject of an agendized item will have 15 minutes to speak. Said 15 minutes shall include all consultants, agents, and employees of the applicant or other person entity that is the direct subject of an agendized item. Persons wishing for additional time may request the same before the meeting by emailing the city clerk, and the city clerk will forward the request to the parliamentarian, that would be me, for determination. I understand the applicant did request additional time to speak. They asked for 5 minutes. I think in light of the complexity of the project, I'm going to give them at least another 5 minutes. And so that would be 15 plus 5, so 25 minutes for the applicant. And the city clerk will notify the requesting party, which I'm actually doing right now, of any other applicant or person entity that is the direct subject of an agendized item of the parliamentary determination. Okay? So at that point, we understand the time limits. I'm now going to invite up the applicant, correct?
Oh, no.
Applicant, please approach.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I just want to remind the residents that are here tonight that this is Fountain Valley, and we do things differently in Fountain Valley than other cities do, and that means we show respect to all speakers, including when you guys get up and give your 3 minutes. So I just ask everybody, please be respectful. There were a couple of comments I could hear from up here earlier during the report, and that's just not appropriate. So thank you.
And I support my colleague. That's part of our house rules in our ordinance as well. So perhaps the next time when we have a heavy subject, we should bring those house rules up. So the public might not be aware of it, and just kind of like, give them some of our house rules so they understand.
welcome. You have the floor.
Right. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Robert Franklin, and I represent the owner of the commercial center located at 8550 Warner Avenue. And by the way, thank you for the extra time. I'll try to make this brief. Before you is a request to change the land use for the property located at 8550 Warner Avenue from commercial to residential, and a request to change the zoning designation from local business to R4 high-density residential, 30 units to the acre, to allow construction of a 72-unit apartment complex with 10 affordable units. The existing general plan and zoning designations were placed on the property in the late 1960s, and the 18,500 square foot commercial center was constructed in the 1970s. For years, the center was commercially viable with a healthy mix of retail, service, office, and restaurant uses. In the early 2000s, things began to change. Competition from surrounding big box retailers, the emergence of internet sales, and shifting buying patterns have made it very difficult for small retail businesses to survive. Over the past 20 years, the tenant mix has shifted away from retail sales to service uses such as chiropractors, dentists, martial arts, and such. Currently, the center is 80% vacant with no significant retail uses. After the March Planning Commission meeting on May 25th, 2026, we met with the, subsequent to the March Planning Commission meeting on May 21st, 2026, we met with the attorney representing the city and the planning director. This was after the Planning Commission decision. We asked both of them what use would be preferred for the site. We were given no correction. We were not given any direction. No direction was provided. Both indicated that it's up to the City Council. That's why we're here tonight. The second paragraph of the staff report for the City Council states, the project site is not identified as a housing element opportunity site or included in the city's housing element sites inventory for meeting the city's 2021-2029 regional housing needs allocation. This is true. My question is, why wasn't it included? Early on, over 50 properties were considered as potential opportunity sites. Why not this site? The property owner was never notified of the process. In our opinion, the center should have been a prime candidate for an opportunity site based on its low performance. The March 25th, 2026 Planning Commission report asserts the same thing. Since August of 2021, we have been asking this question and we have yet to receive a definitive answer. Earlier this year, the planning director provided a flash drive with various documents from the GPAC meetings which do not answer the question. We are still waiting for an answer as to why the site was not considered. With regard to the staff's concern regarding sales tax revenue, that is a concern. We have repeatedly requested the sales tax information for the center, but staff has refused to share the information. Since the planning director expressed a desire to retain commercial sites to maintain sales tax, we decided to review the sales tax revenue from the existing center to the city. In order to explore this question, sales tax revenue to the city, we reviewed the tenant list for the past 5 years and estimated the sales tax based on retail uses. It is very low. We reached the conclusion that the center has never generated significant sales tax revenue to the city. It has been primarily a service center, not a retail center. Our estimate for annual sales tax revenue to the city for 2025 is less than $1,000. We recognize the need for the city to maintain a robust commercial base as a revenue stream to provide essential services. We also request the City Council review proposed changes to commercially zoned properties on a case-by-case basis. Based on current and future economic trends, as our highest and best use study reinforces, the site doesn't work for retail, office, or restaurant uses anymore. It's a mid-block location with a very inefficient layout. The building is a poor design, low ceilings, precision block walls, a flat wood roof, which is not conducive to a facade renovation. The existing commercial center is basically a worn-out relic from the 1970s. It's a teardown. The owner has maintained the center, but it's time to think about a change. In the staff report and findings, staff has linked the proposed project to the RENA process, which is the Regional Housing Needs Assessment allocation exercise, and opportunity sites. We're not linked to that. That RENA process and determination of opportunity sites, that concluded in 2023. In 2021, we presented a mixed-use project for small parcels to staff, and it was generally supported by staff. In 2022, we submitted a preliminary development review application. We received a letter of comments from development review staff via via staff dated September 15, 2022. We were also notified in that letter dated September 15, 2022. Staff did not support the mixed-use concept, but indicated we should come and meet and discuss an R4 high-density project. We have it in writing. Okay, so the proposed mixed use had a higher density, but we determined a mixed-use project with a huge parking garage, basically a wrap, would not be a good fit for the site and surroundings. Plus, construction expense would be too great considering the high water table. It would have required a number of geopiles. It just wouldn't work. We redesigned the project without the commercial component and met with the current planning director and staff. He indicated he did not support the change in land use because it would result in the loss of a commercial site, thus the loss of sales tax. So, we went back and discussed. We commissioned a highest and best use study in 2023, which is included in the staff report. It concludes the location of the site, the shift in economic patterns, the competition from surrounding commercial uses have and will have a detrimental impact to the viability of the center. With regard to compatibility, it is a basic planning practice to locate higher density residential uses along the arterial streets with lower density residential uses located further away from the arterial streets. We feel the proposed residential project incorporates site planning and design features that minimize impacts to existing surrounding land uses. The renovation for the veterinarian use adjacent to the community center, which is currently under construction, is 30 feet high with a rear setback of 39 feet away from existing single-family residential. This is similar to the rear setback for the proposed project at the closest point. There are numerous examples of multifamily residential uses adjacent to single-family residential in the city. In closing, it is our estimate the city currently receives approximately $9,000 a year from property taxes. If the proposed project is approved, the estimated assessed value would be in the neighborhood of $35 million, which would result in an increase of approximately $44,000 in property taxes for the life of the project, and this would be escalating over time. This represents a significant long-term increase in revenue to the city. This is an alternative to the sales tax. In conclusion, to keep things simple, we are proposing to change an obsolete, out-of-date general plan zoning designation from the 1960s, and we are proposing to replace a worn-out, poorly designed, low-performing commercial center with a 72-unit residential apartment complex. We have thoroughly reviewed the staff report for you tonight, and we stand by our appeal letter dated April 15, 2026. We ask you for your support and recommend approving alternative 2 in the staff report, which is supporting the project and the general plan amendment and zone change. We're available to answer any questions you may have. Our economic consultant is here to give a brief summary of the highest and best use study. Our project architect is here to provide a brief overview of the proposed apartment complex, and our attorney is here to speak also. And I would like to point out, I'm pretty sure you probably received these, but we received a letter of support from the Fountain Valley Chamber of Commerce signed by the president. We have received a letter from the Building Industry of Southern California Orange County chapter in support of our project. And we've also received a letter in support from People for Housing, which are housing advocates. They're active throughout Orange County. They support this project too. So with that concludes my staff report. My report, sorry. I used to be a planner.
Welcome.
Welcome. Let me ask the clerk real quickly before I start my time. How do I make the slideshow go forward?
You can just use the arrow, up and down arrow keys on the, there you go.
Okay, got it.
Perfect.
My name is Linda Congleton. For the last 40 years, I've had my own company. I do highest and best use studies. I'm a major, what we focus on are retail and commercial mixed use studies, including residential. Our work is national. I will start out by saying that your situation is not unusual. I cannot tell you how many cities we've worked on that have sites with poor or struggling retail that have to face the fact that it needs to be rezoned to some other use to survive. The first thing I'm going to discuss here is the current land use is outdated and unrealistic given current and future market conditions. The first reason is competition. Since 2008, this poor location, which I will remind you is only 18,000 square feet, it's only 2 acres, has been hit with 10 new anchor stores, and each one of these centers is at least twice the size, if not 3 and 4 times the size of our poor little center that's only 18,000 square feet. So what has happened since 2008 is increasingly major anchor stores like the Sprouts, the Costco's, the Whole Foods, the Trader Joe's, the Aldi's, the grocery outlet, the Spouts, have all come into this market and frankly has killed off the potential for this center. And you say, well, wait a minute, what do anchor stores have to do with small shops? Put it this way, if an anchor store relocates to any of these locations that I have up on the screen, it is a much stronger location for small retailers to locate that are selling goods and services that generate retail sales. So it is nobody's fault. It's not the developer, it's not the owner's fault, it's not the city's fault. It doesn't matter what you zone it, the competition has killed off the opportunity for this little site to successfully compete. The second reason that this site needs to be rezoned is it was structurally weak to begin with. When you didn't have as much competition, it could survive. And you say, what do you mean it's structurally weak? Well, it's not large enough to have an anchor store like a Sprouts or an Aldi or Whole Foods or any of those, so you can't put one on there. The other reason is it doesn't have any major arterials on either side of it. It's a tweener location, so it has bad access. Even major restaurants today want to be able to have a left-hand turn into locations. The site is just severely structurally weak. And so in the old days, when you didn't have as much competition, it could sort of compete. But today, with the competition being so severe, it cannot. And by the way, these conclusions correlate to your own city's study that was done by PlaceWorks in 2019 that said there was, on page 1, this was an update study to your general plan, on page 1, that there was little retail demand in the city, little new retail demand in the city, and that the city should be looking at new alternative uses for old centers that can no longer thrive. The third reason for rezoning the land use has to do with the fact that there's been a statement that you need this location for current commercial. I would pose to you that that is not true at all. On Brookhurst, there are a lot of inferior locations on Brookhurst within shopping centers that are not generating much in retail sales that have recently been regenerated. I can list 2 examples in just the last year alone. The K Concepts has put a new restaurant into what was a bouncy club on Brookhurst. It's called Qua. And the other one is the K Coffee Concepts. Both of those were in old retail uses that weren't bringing a lot of retail sales into the city. You have quite a bit of that retail already in the city. We call that revitalization, taking old service use locations. And by the way, Brookhurst is a far, far stronger location for new restaurants, as been proven by the number of K Concepts restaurants that are already located there. So for these 3 major reasons alone, it doesn't matter what you zone it, it is not going to survive under anybody. If you had sold it to somebody else, it will not survive. The only way of giving this site a viable use is to rezone it for something that your own PlaceWorks study highly recommended, and that was housing. This is only a 72-unit project that could add to your affordable housing component that is badly needed in the city. It is very compatible to have apartments adjacent to single-family residential. You see it all over Orange County. The quality of the housing is very high. It is actually quite a low-density project. It's only 3 levels. It's not a massive 5-level kind of project. So we highly recommend that you consider this. If you do not, the site is going to, it doesn't matter, just by zoning something does not make it happen. I cannot tell you how many times I've been involved with clients that zoned it for a major shopping center, and 20 years later, the shopping center still has never been built. Unless you have economic demand, you can't make things happen just by zoning it. So I would highly urge you to consider the use. It's a highly attractive residential use. If you'd like, I can also answer the questions. We also looked at office space, medical uses, every single commercial use that could possibly go on this site. As we all know, the office market, due to remote working and other reasons, just has no potential on this site as well. So any questions for now for us?
I just wanted to clarify, I know you had multiple slides. Did you want to present?
Do you want to go through them?
You still have about 8 minutes.
Thank you very
To let you know
much.
you've got that ability.
We still have 2 more speakers.
Well, we have 2 more speakers.
Okay. All
Thank you very
right,
much.
thank you.
Hard to follow that speech. Hold on a second.
Do you want the other PowerPoint?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so. Yeah. That one. Thank you. My name is Seraphin Moranin, partner at AO Architects. Good evening. I'm here to talk about the project from an architectural point of view. The site is highly desirable location within a quarter-mile and half-a-mile radius by the 2 arcs, the 2 circles that you see. It provides convenient access to nearly 70 acres of existing commercial development. It is also within close proximity to the 405 freeway and located along Warner Avenue, a major arterial road. Additionally, the site is adjacent to Westmont Park, which offers approximately 10 acres of contiguous park space to the east. A closer look at the site highlights its strong accessibility. It is well connected to the city's pedestrian network, as you can see, with a bus stop directly in front of it and also to the kitty corner to it. The project is designed to be highly accessible with multiple entry points and direct connections to the amenity areas. It also benefits from its adjacency to the Westmont Park again, which includes approximately 1.73 acres within its immediate adjacency. The project exceeds most zoning and development standards, including front and side yard setbacks, building separation, landscaping, minimum floor area, and parking requirements. Notably, the site coverage is below the maximum allowed, with 33% proposed compared to the 40% allowed or permitted. From a density perspective, the state density bonus allows up to 94 units, a 50% increase. The project only proposes 72 units, consisting of 63 base units and 9 density bonus units. The unit mix includes 9 studios, 37 one-bedrooms, and 26 two-bedroom units. Additionally, the project does provide 10 very low-income units in compliance with the City of Fountain Valley's housing ordinance. I'm not going to bore you with all of the details here. Just want to show you some of the market rate units that we're proposing, state-of-the-art, well-lit, open space planning. The amenities as well are also well appointed in its interior detailing. The project incorporates a range of sustainable features, including solar panels on the carports, bicycle storage and repair areas, EV charging stations, high-efficiency heat pumps, tankless electric water heaters, and 100% electric alliances, resulting in a no on-site CO2 emission. Landscape is quite colorful and also drought-tolerant. The project, this is the comparison between what's existing now and what we are proposing. The project responds to current market demands and demographics. Existing 1970s era development is underperforming and does not represent the highest and best use of the site. This proposal introduces high-quality, market-rate housing that will significantly enhance the neighborhood. The architecture design is contemporary, featuring a combination of flat and slope roofs, varied wall planes, and a palette of earth-tone materials. These elements create a dynamic and visually engaging appearance with consistent design carried throughout the project. I'm just going to flip through this. In summary, the project does offer a well-designed, thoughtfully planned residential community that enhances the site's value, integrates with its surroundings, and provides meaningful benefits through quality housing, sustainability, and strong connectivity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Jason Moberly Caruso, attorney with Newmeyer Dillian, attorney for the ownership. We submit that our client's appeal should be granted and the project approved for all of the arguments that are set forth in our appeal, which we won't repeat here. We just wanted to note from a legal perspective, while the city has the discretion to a certain extent to deny our client's request for a zone change and general plan amendment, that discretion is not unlimited. In litigation, which is what I would be tasked with if this project is not approved, the question will be whether the record supports the decision to deny the request before the council tonight, and we would submit that here it does not. Our client has not just been denied a development opportunity, an opportunity to profit. Rather, our client has been denied any productive economic use of the site, as established here by our client's highest and best use consultant, whose analysis is unrebutted in the record. In light of the foregoing, if this project is not approved, our client's only option is to consider litigation to overturn that decision and to compel approval of the project. In reviewing staff's report, the suggestion that the state's Housing Accountability Act does not necessarily compel approval of the project is simply incorrect. As staff and the city attorney have likely explained to the council in other contexts, the project's inconsistency with zoning and the general plan is irrelevant if the city's housing element itself is not in compliance with state law. We've reviewed the city's housing element, and in our review of it, it relies heavily on occupied sites that are occupied with existing non-residential uses. Again, as the city attorney has probably explained to the council in other contexts, it is only proper to rely on such sites in that inventory if there is a reasonable likelihood that those uses will be discontinued during the current planning period, which is from 2021 to 2029. And we've identified various sites that have been included in the inventory that clearly fail that test, as they are fully occupied with commercial properties, which, unlike our client's use, are fully occupied and have no indication of any cessation in the use at any time in the future. And if these properties were inappropriately included in the housing element, as we submit that they were, then arguably the city's housing element is not in compliance with state law. And approval of our client's project would in fact be mandatory under the Housing Accountability Act under the so-called builder's remedy. So should our client prevail on that argument, we would submit that would be immensely problematic for the city, as it would pave the way for others to assert the same arguments and could in fact result in the city's housing element being formally decertified by the state. So in sum, our client has worked with the city for years. Councilmember Bui asked, I think, a great question. Our client has been working with planning since 2023 to present a use for this site that makes sense, that works for the city, that works for our client, and that works for future residents of the property. And we've proposed a common sense redevelopment proposal for the site. And we have come back to the city with a high-density residential project along these lines, only to have encountered resistance with staff and then a denial before the Planning Commission. And we come before the City Council to respectfully ask for reconsideration of that decision. And so, in summary, this project makes sense for the city, makes sense for the community, and again, we submit it's the right decision, and would appreciate the City Council's support of the project this evening. Unless there are any questions, that'll conclude the presentation, and thanks so much for the time.
Okay, thank you to the applicant. We're now going to open for general public comments. Are there any requests to speak?
Yeah, we have a few requests to speak. First up is Carl.
Turn one in, please. Excuse me. Thank you.
My
Welcome.
voice a little scratchy because I went through radiation. I'm wondering why you put us on this agenda tonight. I mean, you're hoping everybody to leave? I'm just wondering. I mean, you took all those pictures. I mean, it's past 8 o'clock, you know. And then this guy, he's not on the list for mandatory low income. So if you let him have low income, we're going to pay for it. If you look at all the incentives, and I know you know all the incentives, he can get millions of dollars in grants if you allow that. So why would you give this guy that? And then you know, low income. You know, when I was young, I lived in Hawaiian Gardens, Long Beach, Anaheim, all low income. Had a lot of nice people, low income, but it also had gangbangers, drug dealers, drug addicts, thieves, breaking into apartments. The apartment I was in, 25 break-ins in 21 days. I mean, you're going to bring that to our neighborhood? I've lived there 38 years, never had a problem. And you want to put this right up against some of these people's walls? A 3-story building looking into their backyards? Why would you do that? I mean, I know this is an appeal. You guys haven't approved it, so I'm not blaming you. But I just don't understand why it got this far. And I know the only option is, if you vote for it, is an appeal. That, or if we find corruption, because I know you can stop it if you find corruption. But I mean, it's unbelievable that we have to go through this. And that over at Boomers, I mean, you realize how much traffic there's going to be? They got 980 parking spots. God, I just don't understand what's happening. And why did you guys not wait until, you got till 2029 to make that decision for both those decisions you made, and you made it now? Why? You know, new governor is coming in, a whole new administration. That mandatory is Gavin Newsom's thing. You're going to ruin the city. Your job was supposed to help us. You know, we asked. You know, the only reason there's this many people is because we sent out the message.
Carl, your time is up.
Oh, I knew you were going to cut me off right at 3 minutes. And you already heard all these same people.
Carl, your time's up.
Arrest me.
Richard Stuman.
And if we could ask the public commenters to say their first, last name, and their address, please?
No.
No? I can't hear the name, that's all. I'm just trying to write down.
Richard Stuman.
Okay.
Richard Stuman, long-time resident. I live 5 doors away from this atrocity that you're about to put on us. This is going to be a nightmare. I am already living next to an Airbnb. 5 doors down is another vacationrental.com. 10 cars apiece. 2 ADU units on my 13th Street cul-de-sac, now 15. 10 cars apiece. We have no parking left. Guess what's going to happen? Guess what's going to happen to all of us? 1972, my mom was president of the Women's Club. I've been here since I was 7 months old. I'm now 60. I was flying kites in the strawberry field of this building. When this building got built, the dairy it was a dairy instead of a coffee shop, and the animal hospital was there. As soon as in 1973 this got built, it got busy. 1974, they put up a chain link fence, cement post. They have no permission to go through to Newland for the ingress and egress through that coffee shop. And they're going to cut it off again because the owner doesn't want this. These guys are giving you snake oil and a song and dance show, and it's going to be a nightmare for all of us. 107 parking spots, 26 garages. Guess what's going to happen to those garages? Drug bins, storage units, couches, people living inside them. Now we're down to 81 parking spots, -6 for handicap and guests. Now we're down to 75 parking spots for 72 units. How many of you share a car with somebody? Huh? Your husband and wife have a car? Boyfriend, girlfriend? Huh? Friends and neighbors? Where are they all going to park? Neighborhood across the street, behind 7-Eleven. The poor retail businesses this way and my entire neighborhood. We're going to be bombarded with 210 cars on a daily basis. You guys have 140 parking spots just for the library. I just got done counting them, not including all this. These guys need to put a parking structure under this. I'm getting to a point, there's 4 things we could do to this right now. Talbert and Newland, you turned around. At Talbert and Newland, you turned around and put 30 small houses there for first-time home buyers, 3 driveways. By the way, this does have a left turn access. It has 3 driveways to it. Next, you could put a parking structure under this thing with a traffic light right there. They don't want to spend the damn money, excuse my language. Fourth, you could do smart and final, put a nursing home right there, a nice garden to the south, and parking in the front wouldn't even impact us. Or why don't you do what you did to my 85-year-old mother when she was dying? Send her letters to paint her house while she's in cancer and dementia. This guy hasn't painted, done anything for 35 years, Mr. Lawrence. God, I've watched this thing my whole life.
Minu Salimi.
So angry about this.
Welcome.
Good evening, y'all. For almost 20 years, I am a citizen of the Phantom Valley, a nice city, now becoming commercial hub for the money mongers, for builders. Our skinny, we have some problems already. Your fire chief stated they have lots of costs they cannot cover. They have to use other cities' EMS. And you want to add these people that working as a ship, but they are wolves. They are worried about our money, about the income of the city, really? No, they are not. They are looking for big money. They are corporate. This gentleman is a lawyer for corporate and comes in here in front of everybody, threat the city for lawsuit. It's a shame to bend for this kind of people. You bring gangs because your police is going to stretch. They cannot commute. They cannot talk because they are busy. The crime rate for last 20 years is increased for city of Fountain Valley. And the amount of the police officer is not increased accordingly. There's statistics. The people can read like me. And we are taking you guys as a servant of the city, responsible and accountable for any decision you make. Why do I have to know after 2 years you had a settlement with the public money for the fraction? Who gave you this right? Was? No. I check your site. There's no settlement things on that for 2 years. Hazardous material, all life. Close to that vicinity, there is a one big high voltage towers. You're gonna put that people over there to expose to the brain cancer? Really, you guys? And this lady coming and telling you this one, that one, and Trader Joe's. Our job is taking care of moms and pops also, not the big money retailers. You want to use that city as a commercial? Use for city. Use for the senior centers. Use for something. But these people are worried about your income as a tax sales? Really? Wolves crying for the ships? What's going on? That's a joke. In other words, my time is coming up. I'm saying that you're going to stretch the power of the fire police department, increasing this traffic, and we confirm the commissioner denial. Your people, and then you're gonna put the 3 stories on the,
Minu, your time is up.
so sorry, too bad that you have to listen to this.
Tim O'Boyle.
Welcome. Good evening. And by the way, this is my wife, Nancy O'Boyle. Okay, we live at 17061 Ross Street, Fountain Valley. Okay, we've lived there for over 32 years. 32. Okay, and we chose the city because of its layout and the density of the housing that we had and what we wanted to live. Since we moved here the last couple of years, the Boomers project has been put in there for 657 units, a 7-story structure that's going to now obscure our views of the city, around the city. Across the street from here, you got 400 units going in, and this Parkside is another 72 units. We're adding over 1,000 units within 1.5 miles of my home, and I think that's a lot, and I don't see the push or the shove on this, why we have to jump through the hoops to get this all done and in. It's affected everything. This is going to affect everybody's quality of life. The parking on this is going to be obscene. There's no for the 72 units, you could probably need 140 parking spaces because nobody has one car, as the gentleman pointed out before. You need at least 2 cars per unit, and that's even a little bit on the low side, but wouldn't create too much of an overflow. But they're not. The structure's never put in any money into it, into this site. Since I've lived there, they haven't done one dime of improving what the facade looks like, as many other places done, and you can see the increase in activity that's done there. The customers that they bought a site or built a site there with, they claim, this gentleman claims, has stone block walls and a flat roof. Well, they built it. Now they're complaining about their build, and if they didn't build it and they bought it, and that's their problem, not ours. So.
I have a minute.
Okay.
This is my first time here, so am I allowed to ask questions? No. Okay. That's too bad.
You can ask a question.
Why don't you ask the question?
Okay. So there's the VMT that was discussed, there's other ways, better, newer ways to do that particular type of measurement. It's VMT per capita, and there's a VMT efficiency that I think would be a better data to understand what it would cause to the traffic there. The other is the TPA. What is the TPA? And I lived there for a long time. I don't know what that transportation priority area is. I thought it was behind like Bellaterra, where all those buses go. I have the 72 runs on Warner. Is that a TPA? I don't know. So I'm a data person from my background, so those are just some of the questions I'd like to have answers to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anna Katsuki.
Welcome.
Okay, I'm Anna Katsuki, 9886 Petunia Avenue in Fountain Valley. I'm here tonight to speak in opposition to agenda item number 8, and specifically the requested zoning and land use change associated with this project. My concern is not simply about one building or one developer. My concern is about the larger issue of changing established zoning and what that means for the future of Fountain Valley. Zoning exists for a reason. It creates a long-term plan for how a city grows and develops. Residents, homeowners, and businesses rely on that planning when making decisions about where to live, invest, and raise their families. There is an expectation that development in an area will generally be consistent with the intended use of that land. When zoning changes are approved for individual projects, it can create a precedent that extends beyond a single property. Residents begin to question whether the long-term planning process is still guiding developmental decisions or whether project-by-project exceptions become the new standard. I understand the cities face pressures related to housing needs and state requirements, and I understand growth will happen. However, growth should be carefully planned and balanced with infrastructure, traffic conditions, community character, and the quality of life of existing residents. The Warner and Newland area already experiences significant traffic activity and daily congestion. Residents are concerned about the ability of roads and surrounding infrastructure to accommodate additional density. Parking, circulation, and impacts on nearby neighborhoods should not be treated as secondary concerns. My concern is that once a zoning change is approved, the consequences become long-term and difficult to reverse. Decisions made tonight may affect future development patterns across the city. I ask the council to consider not only whether this project can be built, but whether changing the zoning designation for this property is in the best long-term interest of Fountain Valley and its residents. For these reasons, I respectfully ask for you to deny agenda item number 8 and deny the requested zoning change. Another issue is the 405 freeway. Have you been on that at any time? Where are all these cars going to go? Where's about the water usage, the fire department, the police department? And to say that 1 or 2 people are going to live in each one of these residences is not going to happen. They will have 3 or 4 people because some people want to save money. I'm just sad what's happening to Fountain Valley. If I knew then when I bought my house in 93 today, I no doubt would not have moved to Fountain Valley, I'm sad to say. And I'm very involved, but I hope you will reconsider.
Anna, your time's
Thank you.
Mark Mitchell?
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I've lived in Fountain Valley for 57 years, on or off. My whole family moved here in '69, and I asked my father back in the '70s if I could move upstairs, the bonus room. We live at El Rancho and Santa Rita, right behind where this monstrosity wants to get put in. And so he let me go up there. Every night, Disneyland fireworks would go off. I could hear them, I could see them, and since the years, the trees have grown up. And what I don't want to look out this window and see is a 3-story apartment complex behind my neighbor's house, which doesn't belong there. The Planning Commission denied it. I would hope that you City Council folks would see the same. I know we're getting pressure from the attorney, and you know, that's just the way these snakes are. So one more thing. I had 2 young ladies come by the house Sunday night, and they were church-going ladies, and they asked me if I went to church. I said, occasionally I do. And I said, well, before they left, they gave me a picture of the Lord Savior, Jesus Christ. And I said, would you say a prayer for me and for the City Council to make the right decision on this rezoning? And they said they would, and I appreciate that. Thank you, and God bless.
Dan Stewart?
Welcome.
It's me again. Dan Stewart. I live on Santa Isabel Street, just down from this project. And I find it interesting to hear one of the developers talk about how the access isn't sufficient for business. And then another one stands up and says there's great access for housing. It seems like it's a conflict of interest to me, and I really don't appreciate the not-so-veiled threat from the attorney on legal action either. And I think that kind of speaks to maybe looking closer at some of the other numbers that they have submitted to you to make sure that they really are up to snuff. Specifically, I heard that traffic impact screening was done, and it found that there wasn't a traffic problem. As someone who makes a right turn out of Ross Street onto Warner, just down from where this will be, I will tell you that there is a traffic problem today. It got worse when the 405 construction completed. It's going to get worse when half a mile away the Boomer project is completed. it's going to back up into this area. And then if you have this development as well, I don't think that traffic impact screening considered what was coming. I could be wrong there, but I would appreciate if someone would get second eyes on that, because I am already seeing the impacts from the 405 construction, and it's just going to get worse from here. And that's all I had to say. Thank you.
On Zoom, Cass Clitheroe.
Well, hold on, let me see.
We hear you.
Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to get my comments. Okay. Hello, my name is Cass Clitheroe. I am a former resident of Fountain Valley and the son of Carrie Clitheroe, a respected former principal of Valley Vista High School. While my mom passed in 2022 to pancreatic cancer, I know she was deeply invested in seeing successful futures for her students. This included her commitment to keeping teen mothers in schools and connecting students to potential resources for finding employment that would be fulfilling, sustainable, and lead to financial independence. Though I and my father, her husband of 35 years until her death, and caretaker during her final days, have felt the need to move, in part due to financial concerns, I still feel connected to the community in which I grew up, which is Fountain Valley. I know that my mother would advocate for the need for affordable housing, not only to ensure that I could live securely in a community that our family called home for my entire childhood, but also to ensure that her students who sought financial, emotional, and physical independence after graduating could continue to live securely in the community their families called home too. In her absence, I feel the need to advocate for affordable housing because I know how much the opportunity to gain independence meant to my mother, how much it means to me, and how much affordable housing can make that possible and sustainable. I also know how much her students' futures meant to her and how much affordable housing could mean to them. And I urge you to consider that as you reach your decision and approve the project. We need this affordable housing for their futures and for Fountain Valley's. Thank you.
Larry Hadley.
Welcome. Hi, good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Larry Hadley, and I live at 8591 El Rancho Avenue. My home directly backs to the shopping center property where the Parkside project is proposed. I understand that growth and development are an essential part of every city's future, but I'm here tonight because I believe this project can have significant impacts on the safety, traffic, and quality of life of the residents who already live in this area. My biggest concern is public safety. Our neighborhood is home to many seniors who walk early in the morning and to many children who walk or ride their bikes to Tamura Elementary. The proposed apartments can bring dozens of additional vehicle trips into an area that's already heavily traveled. Increased traffic means increased risk, especially to children, seniors, and the many residents who use the Greenbelt for exercise and recreation. The crossings along El Rancho Avenue are already busy, and pedestrians frequently move between sections of the Greenbelt. Adding more traffic to these streets can make those crossings more dangerous. I'm also concerned about parking and traffic congestion. We already experience overflow parking from nearby office buildings, with vehicles frequently parking on Ross Street and surrounding residential streets. No, not for me. The proposed project offers a total of only 107 parking spaces for 72 living units. Adding an additional Adding a large apartment complex will only increase that pressure and create additional congestion in our neighborhood. My second major concern is access to the project. The proposed Newland entrance relies on vehicles traveling through adjacent commercial properties. In the past, one of these properties was blocked with chains and barriers preventing through access. If that were to happen again, residents of this project could lose a major access point and be forced to rely primarily on Warner Avenue. Even today, the access near the veterinary building narrows to a point where only one vehicle can comfortably pass through at a time. Cars entering and exiting simultaneously would struggle to navigate the area, and delivery vehicles could block the route altogether. I do not believe the entrance is adequate for a development of this size. Finally, I ask the council to consider the cumulative impact of both the Parkside project and the proposed Boomers redevelopment. Together, these projects will place significant additional traffic on Warner Avenue, which the gentleman from AO Architects identified as a major arterial road, Magnolia Avenue, Newland Street, and the already congested 405 freeway entrances. With an awareness of both of these proposed projects and the proximity to one another, it's curious why a traffic impact study was not warranted. I respectfully ask you to put the safety of our residents, especially our children and seniors, first. Please carefully consider whether this project is truly compatible with the surrounding neighborhood and whether the traffic and access concerns have been adequately addressed. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Cheryl Brothers.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I feel like I'm walking into the lion's den after all that. I've been on the general plan committee. I was on the first one and the second one. And during all that time, the question was, where are we going to put all these housing numbers that we're required to make space for? The current properties that were included in the housing element have already had their zone changed by the city council, and I'm trying to keep track of my notes here. During the time that this project has presented itself to the city, they've struggled with 3 executive management changes during that time. Each change came with a different point of view, which required substantial changes to the project, which was complied with. The Planning Commission had questions regarding traffic, and there were no answers. And the traffic study was a little lackluster. The findings that were presented from the Planning Commission did not come from the Planning Commission. They were generated primarily by staff, and I would like the surrounding residents to understand that if this stays commercial and managed by a new owner, by right they can build 4 stories. So need to think about that. This project will benefit the city by providing needed housing and needed low-income housing, and it will benefit existing and new residents who are looking for exactly what's being proposed. I hope you consider that as you consider this appeal. Thank you.
On Zoom, we have Jackson Wrigley.
Welcome.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Jackson Wrigley, and I've been a longtime resident of this community. I went to elementary school and middle school in the area, similar to a lot of the young leaders that we saw come through tonight. And I'd like you to think about those young individuals as you deliberate on what to do with this housing project. This city helped shape me. I grew up here and most recently lived at 10441 Slater. I eventually had to leave, and I'm asking you to not make that the only option for the next generation. I'm here tonight to ask for you to approve the Parkside development and to respectfully push back on the recommendation to deny it. We're in a housing crisis. That's not an opinion. It's a documented reality. Orange County has one of the lowest vacancy rates in the state, and cities like Fountain Valley are under increasing pressure, legally and morally, to contribute solutions. Denying 72 units of housing on an underutilized commercial site doesn't protect this community. It delays the inevitable while real people pay the price. And I want to talk about those people and who they are today. They're the kids I grew up with here. We went to the same schools, played the same sports, sat at the same parks, and now they can't find anywhere to live that's within reach. They're the teachers, the nurses, the service workers who keep this city running, but can't afford to live in it. Every time a project like this gets denied, we're sending a message to those people and myself. You're welcome here to work, but not to stay. 72 units is not a dramatic transformation of this neighborhood. It's a 3-story building on 2.1 acres. It fits within the scale of what's already here. The site is on Warner Avenue, a commercial corridor. It's not tucked into some residential street. This is exactly the kind of location where infill housing is designed for. I'd ask the council to consider, what is the cost of doing nothing? What does it say to the next generation of residents, those young people you saw walk through the doors today? People who have ties to this city, when we consistently choose the status quo over the ability to stay. Again, I grew up here. I believe in this community, and I believe this community is big enough and strong enough to absorb 72 apartments and be better for it. Please approve this project. Support the appeal. Give the people who love this city a place to live in it. Thank you.
Perry Clitheroe.
Welcome.
Good evening, City Council. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm here tonight to ask you to allow 72 apartment homes to be built on Warner Avenue. I began advocating for housing while studying economics at Concordia University, and as I was doing so, I began to realize and notice how much my friends, family, and coworkers struggled to afford good housing here in California. I wondered why, and my research showed one conclusion, one cause was more significant than any other. City councils across California made too many reasonable housing projects illegal. This was done a long, long time ago. This wasn't anyone's fault. They couldn't have possibly had the foresight to see how economic trends would develop over the course of several generations. The market for housing that local governments have designed has resulted today in something resembling a sick game of musical chairs, where households outbid one another for a limited pool of homes. I have met and talked to seniors who spend 2/3 of their Social Security income paying rent. When I worked at our Albertsons on Brookhurst for a couple of years, I had several coworkers who were homeless here in Fountain Valley, working at our Albertsons, preparing our food, putting it on our shelves. Good homes have become an unaffordable luxury in Orange County. People have to choose between paying very high rents, living in rundown or crowded places, commuting from Riverside, or giving up on California altogether. Kids who grow up in Fountain Valley who don't inherit a home are going to have to make those choices too. As you consider this project, I urge you to consider more than just the fear of a handful of neighbors, counted about 35 to 40 of them. These homes will have a minor impact on the quality of their life. Hell, once you spend the impact fees and the property taxes, I like to think their lives will improve. Meanwhile, these homes will make a huge difference in the lives of 72 people who will be residents, seniors, grocery store clerks, nurses, teachers, police officers, firefighters, and every other job you can imagine. The only thing these home builders are asking from you is permission. They aren't asking for anything else. They're asking for permission. They're offering to create jobs, to build homes and to pay a heck of a lot more in taxes than the current use will. That's a great deal for the people of Fountain Valley. Let them build these homes. Thank you for your time and for your public service.
Katie Wright.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mayors all, especially the current one. The gentleman that just spoke, he's commenting that he does live in Huntington Beach. We're getting calls and people speaking from wherever they are speaking from. Not everyone is a Fountain Valley resident. I will remind you all, you don't have the right to ask for addresses. People choose to give it, that's great. People want to give it, that's great. First Amendment, they don't have to. Just saying. I spoke a lot during one of the Planning Commission meetings. I was actually quite rude to the lady. I can't think of her name because I didn't write it down quick enough. I apologize for calling you by the wrong name. I referred to her as the name of a restaurant chain that she was discussing. Speaking of which, I still don't like the way she comes up here and presents her argument. Her argument is that there's no use trying, it's never going to work, nobody's going to want to do it. Left turn lane, yeah, you can do a left turn lane. The idea that there's no restaurant that would fit there, the idea that this is the only thing that'll work here, I did not agree with the traffic study. One thing it doesn't take into account, in my opinion, I haven't done my research, admittedly, but I live on a cul-de-sac, and we get easily 6 to 10 Amazon or similar deliveries every day. UPS, FedEx, they're not even counting. 72 units getting multiple times a day deliveries of people driving in and out, driving in and out, driving in and out, and they are under the time crunch. They even had a problem years ago. One of their drivers in Sacramento did something obscene in the street because they couldn't get to a bathroom. Just saying. They are under a time crunch. They will be in a hurry. It's not suitable. That driving in and out it's narrow. I don't like it. I have always taken my vets to that vet. I don't think I can deal with that kind of traffic. What I would suggest, rather than being angry and saying, oh, I don't like this person said this, I don't like that person said that, something to keep in mind. We're talking about commercial, we're talking about restaurants. I'm not kidding. It occurred to me, I would be remiss if I didn't mention, please get a hold of a Mr. Oded Mazor. He owns a property, he doesn't own property, he owns a business. Their lease has just been revoked from them. They've been in business 50 years in Irvine, across from John Wayne Airport, Gulliver's. You want to talk foodie town? You want to talk a renowned, beloved restaurant? And he was just quoted as saying in the paper, I can barely reach it. He says he's going to have to take some time off, but he's very much interested in looking for a new place to open up Gulliver's again. Say that you can't get all these anchor places to come in. This is a one-of-a-kind specialty place. And you say, oh, it's no good, you can't get there. But then when
Katie,
you're talking
your time
about
is up.
how great it is, oh, it's right off the 405 for these apartments.
Katie.
It's right off the 405 for that. Thank you.
Pilar. Pilar Mizell.
That is correct.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Pilar Mizell, and I am a resident in the area. I live in Huntington Beach. I live on Glasgow Circle. I thank you for letting me speak today. I'm speaking tonight to strongly urge you to deny the appeal. We are a group of homes on a cul-de-sac. The traffic, I think, is the biggest impact for us over across the way. We are the first street east of Newland. Getting in and out of there right now has been incredibly difficult since the 405 has been changed. When they redid the on-ramps for the 405, they took away, we used to have 2 lanes to get on the 405, now we have 1. Traffic has been impacted greatly since that change has happened. I have been a customer of the center for 24 years. I've lived across the street from the center. I go to the nail salon, I used to go to the hair salon. I will say that center, they have not been making improvements to it. The most recent restaurant that went in there, I doubt they give them any money for TI in order to build that place out and make an investment into their tenants. My hairdresser that was in the shopping center, it was a hairdresser for a long time, he left. And he said, because the center is just old and dirty. There's homeless people there now. Currently, the nail salon has had their windows knocked out. They've never fixed it. The landlord hasn't done anything to make them fix it. It's becoming a blight. And I think that how can you ever attract a business that wants to attract customers to go into a center that they don't take care of? I strongly, it's an outsized project for this community. I think it will impact all residents that are in the immediate area very, very badly. It'll have a horrible negative impact upon them. And I urge you to take that into consideration on this appeal. I think that as well, that rather than having the developers and the owner of the center kind of listen to what everybody's saying, the people who live right around there and taking their thoughts and feelings and their quality of life into consideration and looking into something that would be fit into the community and be a better neighbor within the community. They're threatening lawsuits, tactics like that. That's not a good neighbor, in our opinion. They haven't been a good neighbor right now by the way they're taking care of the center. And I would like to have a good neighbor come into the center, whether that's a residential project that actually fits into the existing feel of the community in the area, or something commercial that I can go back and be proud to frequent on a regular basis. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah.
Rick Caruso?
Oh, boy.
Welcome.
Hi. So I'm Rick Caruso. I live on Redwood by the old Moyola School that had turned into a bunch of housing development, high density. Condo houses is what I call it. I'm a real estate broker for over 50 years and have outsold everybody that I know of in real estate, commercial, land, hundreds of parcels of land, even with a gold mine on it, one piece of land. I've sold a lot of homes in this area. I live in Fountain Valley, and I love Fountain Valley. When you enter the Fountain Valley, it says a nice place to live. So my high concern is with you council members as well as the planning commission that you appoint on that commission have come up with projects that are like the Highland Euclid project, a 7-story building that is multi-use, high density, when there's no street parking on Euclid on Saturdays and Sundays. It's the wrong parcel, the wrong development for that parcel. And I'll just give you one clue. You do a 7-story building when it's homes, SFRs, all the way around it, and you do a 7-story building, those people that are on the north side of that project will never see the sun again. And that will diminish the value of their home. When I go to sell it, you're going to look in the backyard and you're going to go, I'm not going to buy this thing. I don't want to be next to that thing. So there's a lot of room for lawsuits in that area of overdeveloping and changing the dynamics of somebody's current life the way it is. And it is a nice place to live, and I've been here since Fountain Valley Drive-In was there. I used to try to take every girl I could get I had a van, and I'd try to get every girl I could into my van to go see a movie. But, and I think some of these ladies here probably, I tried anyway, but nothing ever happened. So these guys are here for the highest and best use. That does not mean that the highest use is high density. They're after the money. Show me the money. That is what they're after. And this guy who made his veiled threat of suing Fountain Valley because of the state mandates and all that, this is a property that's been a slum commercial property for as long as I've ever been in Fountain Valley. They do not, I'm sure they're nice people, I'm sure they have good intentions. Their whole thing is stuff as much project into it and make as much money as they possibly can. I feel for the people. I'm a real estate guy. I feel for the kids. I feel for my own kids on how do they buy. Guess what? I'm going to die and leave them a bunch of money and they're going to get my house. That's how they're going to get it. So I understand that part and I really have sympathy because there's no real correct answer for this because
Rick, your
of the
time's
homing.
up. Sorry.
So
Rick,
The other
time's
one
up.
is, I'm sorry, just one thing is Magnolia and Warner is another 7-story density building. And then you got the one across the street, what looks like, I can't even tell you what it looks like. Looks like an
Rick,
apartment.
your time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no further requests to speak. I'm just got.
It's on a different issue.
Not on item 8.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And now we'll open it up for council questions of the applicant. Questions from council? Okay. Councilman Bui?
I have a question for the applicants. Is the applicant here? Still here? Okay. Well, whoever can answer that question, I guess. How much money has the applicant spent on this project in terms of architecture, design, all that? How much money have you spent?
Architectural fees are over 200 grand.
Is that all the fees you spent so far?
No.
What's the total fee you spent so far?
We're into it's like 130 grand for the mitigated neck deck, probably 50,000 in just city fees for the general plan, zoning, precise plan. We have attorney fees, there's some consultant fees, Linda Congleton, myself. It's getting close to 500 grand.
So $500,000 for the entire project so far. As the staff were saying earlier that I guess the one your biggest hurdle is you've been informed that your biggest issue is land zoning. That's what I'm hearing today.
Oh yeah, that's the big question.
And that's what is your hurdle. And it brings before our council here to decide whether we want to change this zoning so that way you can be moving forward. That's my understanding.
It's true.
I'm a little bit confused as to one of our former mayors stated that council, if we can have some clarification from staff. She mentioned that zone change already approved by city council, or I missed something. What does she mean by that? And
He said the other properties, not this.
oh, the other part. Okay, and then she also mentioned that no planning comment was made or was generated by staff. What does she mean by that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, if you can answer if you would like to. You know, she's saying that staff is making a comment.
Are you talking about the findings? Were you referring to the findings being generated by staff? Was the comment, Councilman Bui?
Yeah.
Can you repeat the
unless
question?
Former mayor could clarify that. I'm not sure what she meant by that.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, she meant something to the nature that it was not the planning comment, but it was more generated by staff.
So I believe that was in, Planning Commissioner Brothers can correct me, but I believe that was in reference to the resolutions that were prepared per the direction of the Planning Commission. They directed staff to come back with resolutions of denials. Staff, as is general practice, we generate those findings. We present them to council. Council adopts them. If they like, if that's their preference. They can also they review, obviously, staff's findings, and they can comment on those, make modifications to those, or they can approve as recommended. So in this case, staff generated the findings and resolutions per the per the Planning Commission's direction, and the Planning Commission voted to adopt with no changes.
Okay. And if you could also explain, there was one of the gentlemen who talked about the low income, and if there's a percentage requirement of any project that comes into the city as part of the low income housing component under the state. Can you explain to the public, of that so that way they can understand?
Yes, in part for our housing element, actually to get certified, the city committed and later adopted an inclusionary housing ordinance, which requires any project of over 10 units to provide 15% of the base zoning units to be low income.
Okay. And then I want to ask this question because I've been hearing this in the past several times too. So what criteria or metric did the city use to determine which parcel were identified as a potential RENA potential site? What criteria or metric that was during the general plan selections?
There was a 5-year general
I
plan
understand.
advisory committee.
I understand. Obviously, some people still don't understand. So it's good to give, a synopsis of that so people can understand how it was selected. So there's not,
I wasn't here for the process. I believe many of the council members and planning commissioners in the audience today were part of the GPAC and community members as well. But generally, what occurs is there are a number of properties that are looked at, and in this case, they were presented to the GPAC. The GPAC combed through those properties. They did bus tours. There was a lot of public input, as Councilman Grandis was alluding to in that process, and including site visits, and then they recommended the sites that eventually made it into the housing element.
Well, thank you for sharing. Of course, that was before your time. But do you know why has this site not has been identified?
So in our discussions with the applicant, they, I believe, mentioned that they had a discussion with the director at the time. I have found no notes or evidence of or any documentation to that, speaking to that, so I can't speak directly to it.
Okay. So the way I look at this project, they've been working with the city for 3 years. They spent about $500,000. Has staff ever reached out to them to discuss an alternative project with the applicant?
No.
Why not?
This is the project that they proposed. So they came in originally with a mixed-use project, a small mixed-use project. We talked about that. Mentioned concerns about the change in general plan and land use. We don't get involved with private property, so this is private property. They came in with the proposed project. We discussed that project, but we don't, unless they ask, talk about, and in this case, they asked last week, for staff comments, but at this time, the Planning Commission meeting already occurred. It's already been scheduled for public hearing before the City Council. It's within your purview now, and so we're looking, we recommend that we wait till City Council provides guidance to have that discussion.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Omar. I have one question for the applicant. I want to wrap this up. And my questions for the applicant is, how many public hearings have you held regarding the project? Obviously, you see there's a lot of people that oppose this project, so I want to know how many public hearings have you held?
We had one before the Planning Commission.
One.
Plus tonight. But we did have 2 community meetings. We notified adjacent property owners. We had a small turnout. And then a year later, approximately, we decided to go with the new expanded radius of 1,000 feet, which included pages and pages and pages of addresses. And we met both, first time was at the site. The second time was at the Heritage Park. And we had a decent turnout. Not huge, but decent.
Okay, and what was the feedback that you received from the neighboring property?
Most everybody was concerned about traffic. It's the number one concern of everybody.
Okay, have you addressed that?
Well, staff prepared a mitigated neg deck with a very thorough traffic study in it, and the findings are that this project would generate a negative 547 trips to the local arterial streets as opposed to a fully functional commercial use. So this is actually a less intense use compared to commercial.
Okay.
I mean, you can read the neg deck. Staff did a great job, and they hired a very expensive, qualified consultant to put it together, and they will stand by their work. They're the experts.
Aside from traffic, what is the second biggest concern of
it was on-site parking.
The parking?
There was concern that there would be overflow into their neighborhoods, and that's a valid concern too.
That one, I agree. I mean, if it's 74 units, there's only, that many parking, I would be concerned too.
But again, with the density bonus state law, we're in excess parking.
Okay, you go into the standard.
And I may want to address one thing. There was a comment about the garages. This will be managed by the owner. He's going to keep it. There will be regulations about where people have to park in their garage. There will be no inoperable vehicles. It'll be strictly managed. He owns a number of residential projects that are highly maintained.
And the resident here is there a particular group, or is there anybody?
Pardon me?
The future resident, are there seniors, or what are they?
It's market. There's 62 market, a range from studio, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. And then within the affordable, the deed restricted affordable units, there will be a mix of studios, 1s and 2s. And that's for very low income households. And it sounds, like undesirable, but actually very low income households are me when I was starting out in planning. It was my son starting out as an attorney, so. Anyway.
If I can speak, having worked on numerous mixed-use projects with residential in everything from cities like Tulsa, Oklahoma, downtown Tulsa, to small cities in Texas, to here, I can tell you what the mix will be. It will be a mix of young people, like the young people you spoke to, that spoke about needing housing, and typically it's also move-down buyers. And who are those? Those are people who have homes, maybe in Fountain Valley or nearby, and they want to pull out their equity in their home, and they sell their home, move into an apartment so they can, frankly, have a nice retirement and travel. So usually it ends up with a blend of young people and what I call move-down buyers. Those are the ones you find in the market rate units. And then even in the affordable components, they're working people, as was described. He's quite correct. You're talking about people who work in the police, the nurses, the staff, the medical field. These are kinds of people that have very, very difficult time finding affordable rental apartments.
All right, thank you. That's all I have for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd actually like to ask a few questions, kind of a similar theme on the community outreach, just in comparison to some of the other projects that are in construction or have been approved. There was extensive effort to have those, those workshops. A lot of time and effort was put into not only making that space available, but also to take that feedback and actually adjust the projects accordingly. I'll point to the parking structure at Memorial Care at Orange Coast. They've done extensive outreach and extensive modification to the design. Now, one thing I heard tonight was a concern. This is a 3-story structure that is adjacent to primarily 1- and 2-story structures, on El Rancho particularly, right? So what have you done to at least consider altering the project? Maybe you can respond to that first, then I'll follow up with another question.
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to. I'm a former city planner, and I used to arm wrestle with builders to be more sensitive to adjacent properties. I mean, we really used to have to arm wrestle. So when we were looking at that mixed-use project for small parcels, I think it's less than 3 acres, or whatever the criteria is, there's large projects, small projects. We were encouraged to do so because at the time the planning director, not the current planning director, but a former planning director, he felt that the city needed to provide as much housing as possible, whether it's market or affordable. So we looked at that, and then after I sat in the public hearings on Slater Investments, afterwards I went back and said, I listened to the comments, and it was approved, but I don't think it was unanimous. And there were some very spirited comments. And I remember someone spoke at the hearing and said, good project, wrong location. And I went, wow, okay. So I went back and talked to my boss, and I said, look, this wrap thing, it's going to be 4 stories. It's going to be a huge wall facing a single family to the south. It's going to be very intense. It's going to be very dense. We were going to do density bonus, like our architect said. We could take it up to 94 units, but no, we decided not to. So we just backed that off and went with a 3-story walk-up, which we thought would kind of fit. Like, for example, right next door to City Hall, there's a 3-story walk-up structures. Now, they're not apartments, but the massing's similar. So what we've done is we downsized it from a wrap on our own because we figured we didn't want to do it. And then number 2, we looked at the edges. And we said, what's the best way to orient this project so it has the least impact on the adjacent neighbors to the south? Believe me, we recognize it's the critical edge. It is. It's the critical edge. So what we did is we designed it in a U shape. And in order to hit the number of units, it has a couple of wings that extend out to the south. Well, the current development standards require a 100-foot setback to the 3rd story. We complied to the 2nd story. But the 3rd story, it requires 100 feet, but it doesn't make it feasible to hit the unit number. So what we've done is in the areas where the building extends into that 100-foot. There are no windows looking directly down on the single family. They're all going to be celestial windows or no windows at all. We don't have any balconies or patios facing directly into the single family, and we're using distance as a buffer. Most of the units are oriented adjacent to Warner. Now, the folks to the north in Huntington, they have the width of Warner as a buffer. You know, I mean, there are going to be some windows there on the third story, but we tried to be very sensitive to that critical edge on the south. Number two, staff is very rigorous on this review. I mean, Steve didn't, I mean, he's tough. He's doing his job. He's tough. Based on a former project at Edinger and Brookhurst, there was a lighting issue with the Walgreens. I was involved in that. And the developer went ahead on their own and put in all these major lights. And it created all this light pollution, light impacts. It was crazy. I personally worked with an architect in Chicago to get those lights brought down to 5 feet. So they became pedestal lights rather than lights that were going. I mean, it looked like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I mean, it was ridiculous. So we've been sensitive to light impact. The lighting plan shows that there are no lighting impacts to the south. Most of the units are a great distance away from the single family. The units that are close to the single family, no windows, no patios facing them. We're trying to minimize impacts. The height is very similar to what the vet renovation is going through. It's roughly a 35, 40-foot setback, 30-foot high. I mean, it'll all kind of fit. We even designed the project to kind of match in a sense, kind of blend, harmonize with the vet so that it would look like a unified whole. I mean, we've done everything we can to minimize everybody's concerns, but it doesn't seem to be enough.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open it up to other council members for questions. Councilwoman Constantine.
Okay, I do have some comments. Didn't come with anything prepared, so as I usually do when we have certain matters in front of us, I do like to correct some of the interesting public comments we hear. So, who knows who said it, but anyway, this matter was agendized under a public hearing at this portion of the meeting. Prior to this part of the meeting, we did have presentations and our consent calendar, so sometimes after certain portions of the meeting, people leave, and that's what they choose to do. So it's just the way it is. Airbnbs are not permitted in Fountain Valley. They've been banned. Contact code enforcement, let's not fool around, 714-593-4444. Rentals need to be for over a 30-day period, over a month. So across the street from here, from City Hall, the Jefferson, it's not 400 and some odd units. It's going to be 276, 277, something like that. Another thing is stay tuned about the potential of no parking on Euclid and Heil near that new development that's getting built across the street. There's lots of red curb there already, so there could be more. Stay tuned. Chamber of Commerce sent in a letter of support. There's still representation by Chamber of Commerce at this moment. Not sure why the letter of support references president when the title, I understand it to be, is chairman. So you may want to check your website. Back to the project at Euclid and Heil. It's 5 stories with various housing styles, some housing for sale, such as townhomes and triplexes. The 5-story will be apartment rentals. So you've got that. It's so regarding this specific project here, it's a parcel with a shopping center, and it's zoned commercial. It's not zoned for residential or multifamily. Per the slide that we saw, it states that it's underutilized and outdated 1970s era retail center that no longer serves community needs, says whoever wrote the slide. So that's just a thought there. We have a demand in this city for retail space, for restaurant space. And so it's very unfortunate that this parcel is, I want to say 80%, 80% vacant. So unfortunate. Doesn't have to be that way. Recently, so the last city council meeting, I wasn't here, I was on Zoom for our May 19th meeting, And that was because it was myself and Vice Mayor Harper, and then City Manager Maggie and some economic development staff, Omar and some others, there at the ICSC conference, which is innovating commerce, serving communities. It's the largest real estate convention in the world. And possibly, you know, there should be some other attendance there, as from what I'm hearing tonight. Because we have such a demand in our city. Over and over again, we heard, you know, so-and-so has a restaurant in this city, they want one in Fountain Valley too. The restaurant in this city, they want one there too. A store here, they want one in Fountain Valley. The problem we have right now is we have such limited space in the city, now even more challenged because some of the businesses have left the center or may continue to leave the center. So it's a challenge here, quite frankly. It's very unfortunate. And in that big convention in Vegas was commercial brokers, investors, property managers, and developers. And again, a huge interest in the city, as there should be. What else do I want to say? My gosh, my notes. Honestly, I'd like to have city staff ensure that this center is up to code. If it's not, please connect with the owner, make sure it is. If there's limited access to the veterinary clinic, that's not right. That needs to change. If there's homeless there, that's not right. This center's just got to stay as it is, with definitely a lot of improvement here. I don't support this at all. Thank you.
Councilman Grandis?
Thank you. So is anybody here from the animal hospital? So, Mr. Attorney, do you have a contractual easement with them to use the thoroughfare there?
I'm not aware of that, and candidly, I'm not sure that it's necessary. Just looking at a site plan for the project, but I may be mistaken.
So if they put up the chain link fence again, that's not going to be used because you don't have contractual easement.
I mean, I believe the architect could correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure that access is being...
Well, you guys said that that's access that you're going to use.
I think with city staff, Omar probably have data on that.
No, they should know. I don't need staff for this one. Okay, you don't know. So I have a question for... You have a contractual easement?
Yes, there is.
In a contractual legal easement?
May I speak?
Of course.
Just waiting to be called on.
Yeah, please approach.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that was one of the first things we checked. Is ongoing in the original development. There's a recorded easement between the vet parcel and my boss's parcel that provides drainage, sewer, and access, and believe it or not, parking. And there is a reciprocal access agreement that, I don't know what the proper term would be, but because the vet has it with that little former drive-through dairy, he has access, because he owned both at one time, so he granted it to himself and then sold the little dairy. So there's reciprocal access that goes all the way through for all three parcels.
And you have it in your paperwork somewhere that we can see?
Oh, absolutely.
It's part of the report?
It was the first thing that Steve required.
Steve, can you just shake your head? That's an easement there? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Question for, I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Linda?
What do you think the vacancy rate is in Fountain Valley? Commercial vacancy rate?
Well, the last time commercial vacancy factor?
Yes. It's a dead shopping center. You're saying commercial's dead in Fountain Valley. Obviously you did a study. What's the vacancy rate?
As I say, we did our study 3 years ago. At that time, the commercial vacancy was fairly low, but what I want to emphasize is I respectfully disagree with Kim, is that there are a number of locations that are under leased, if you will. In other words, a shopping center developer, if he has uses in there that are not returning sales, high sales in his shopping center. Just like the Qua restaurant went into on Brookhurst, it was a bouncy house that wasn't making much money. You have lots of locations on Brookhurst that are not doing very high sales. So it's simply not true that you don't have locations that are available in your city.
So, Omar, is it 1.8%? I'm sorry? 1.2. So we're at 1.2% vacancy rate. So for him to be at 80%, that's not a Fountain Valley problem. That's a owner problem.
No.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because he doesn't upkeep, he has been, my understanding, terminating leases and telling tenants they're not going to renew. Go ahead.
Well, if I can respectfully disagree,
Sure.
Because even if you spent the most outrageous money to paint, make improvements, you're not going to get higher rents on that center. It is structurally inferior. And when I say that the center doesn't have proper access, it's not access is the issue. I think they're all misunderstanding. It's the fact that the whole site doesn't border a major street. And
It
that's
borders Warner.
Okay. Wait, let me finish.
Don't.
It border two streets. In other words, if you look at a major shopping center, it'll have two streets, like it'll have Warner and some other street. That's what major retailers require, including restaurants.
Okay.
And in today's market has not gotten better for retail. It has gotten worse with costs getting higher.
Okay, I got your answer.
Inflation getting
Thank you.
higher. Okay.
So one of your own consultants there said it's a major arterial road. I wrote down when he said that. And Warner is. It's one of the busiest thoroughfares.
I understand that.
A half mile from the freeway.
You're quite correct.
There's no better, it's one of the best streets in all of Fountain Valley.
You're absolutely correct. But it also makes that a great road for residential as well, for apartments.
Okay, you can't have both ways.
You're right.
Okay. My favorite restaurant in Fountain Valley is Cambalache. Are you familiar with Cambalache? Hey, everyone, please.
Just down the road.
Are you familiar with Cambalache?
You'll have to tell me the location.
Oh.
It's the next shopping center right next to yours.
Oh, I know that location, sure. And by the way, the square footage on that center is twice the size.
Well, it's also completely sold out. It's done great. And, I remember when that shopping center had Shakey's in it.
Yeah.
When I was in high school in Fountain Valley, after the games, we always went to Shakey's. So that is a viable shopping center.
Well,
and to have 80% vacancy?
No, that center is actually quite healthy, and the major reason is twice the size in square footage. It also has a bike store in there that has been there forever and forever and forever. That's a major mini anchor. Because of its sheer size and because it has had a mini anchor, it has been able to survive far, far longer. It's also near a corner that has, again, some major anchors on that corner. So I'm very familiar with the site you're talking about.
That does not have an anchor.
Okay, no, I understand that, but it's twice the square footage.
Okay.
Ours is just a little 18,000. It's a little strip center. It's a nothing.
Okay, I have a question for the gentleman. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names. Yes, sir.
Sure.
So, in the past, you've met with council members, correct?
Yes, we have 4 out of the 5.
4 of the 5.
Yeah.
And I was one of them. We met, I think, 2 years ago, I want to say, maybe longer.
Very pleasant meeting also. We appreciated the time.
Of course, it's my job. But one of the things that I did tell you at that time is that this was not part of the general plan. It wasn't part of zoning. And at that point, you hadn't spent $500,000 on this project when we had met. So my question to you is, when you received feedback from the council, was the feedback not similar? I mean, I don't know what the others said, but I know I told you that, this person who owns the property needs to fix up his property, and the chances of it being us rezoning after we had just done a major rezoning for the entire city, probably not appropriate to keep going with what you're doing.
We didn't agree with that. We didn't agree with your position.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you heard it.
Oh, yeah, but that's just one voice of 5.
Okay. Fair enough. One of the things that we talked about was why didn't you guys want to be part of the general plan? And what you told me was, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Nobody told me. Nobody called me.
We were
You said
unaware.
that back then as well.
We were never notified.
Really? How long has he owned that shopping center?
I believe he purchased it in the mid-'80s.
In the mid-'80s. So he's owned it 46 years or
Quite a
so?
while, yeah.
When's the last time he did a major refurbishment there?
I can't answer that. No. I know
Has he
there's been
ever?
general maintenance, not a facade renovation, all
Or
that.
just general?
Yeah, that's what brought this upon. The owner of the center contacted me because he was kind of at a decision point, like a decision tree. He said, look, I can put in some money and renovate, paint, fix it up, re-asphalt the parking lot and let it roll. But what good's that do anybody?
Well, when we talked, one of the things that you told me, I remember clearly, was that this gentleman was a member of the community, lived locally. I think he lives in HB or...
Yeah, he lives in Huntington Beach, yeah.
Lives in HB, member of the community, gives back and all that.
Yeah.
And we had a general plan that took 5 years to do.
Right.
We had, I don't know how many town halls. We had a joint meeting of the Planning Commission and the City Council.
Okay.
And
listen, we've thought about this. Oh, hang on.
Excuse me, the council member has the floor. Please.
Okay, you're right.
Please don't interrupt.
Pardon me.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, he knows what I'm saying here, that there is no reason he, as a member of our community, should not known of the most major thing we have done in decades in our city.
We were perplexed with your position because, are you aware of what's going on in Cyprus?
I don't own a building in Cyprus.
Yeah, but
If I did, I tell you what, I own a cabin in Big Bear and I own a condo in Palm Desert, 2 businesses, and I can tell you, I know what's going
all the
on.
politics, you stay involved in it?
Yes, absolutely, especially when there's something that affects my property. Absolutely, I did.
Yeah, well, if you're unaware of it, you're unaware of it.
Well, I think that's malfeasance on his part, that he
No, I
was not
understand your
involved.
position.
Okay.
I understand your position. We don't agree.
We don't.
No, we do not.
So the next thing, the big issue that I have is we came up with our general plan. We spent 5 years on it, and we took considerable heat from the residents because we implemented what I would say is a very unpopular housing element. We had to add 4,832 units of zoning or thereabouts.
It's a lot.
And one of the things that I believe all of us said to the residents was, it's a mandate from the state, our hands are tied. As much as we would potentially like to do things differently, I'm a big proponent of housing, by the way. I'm not against housing, and I'm not against affordable housing. But what I'm against is that we made a commitment and a promise and worked for 5 years to put together that housing element, and for you to come in after the fact and say, whoa, wait, I didn't know. Well, you know what? We're going to have another housing element coming up in just a few years. The state may tell us to add more.
They will.
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't you come back then and we'll talk about it.
That's
And then
in the
it can be
Planning
part of-
Commission staff report. We're aware of staff's position. There's another cycle coming. Have you looked at your production numbers?
There's another cycle
you need
coming, and if we
production.
do this now,
It's
we're going to
just
have to add
keep
even more.
stacking. That's okay. It's fine. I understand your position. We just
Okay.
don't agree.
Let's see if I have any other questions at this point. One thing I will say, that anybody who complains about parking, he's right, there's nothing we can do. That's mandated by the state. He's actually doing more parking than he has to do. So I will give you that.
Thank you.
The other question I have for Omar, sorry, I know I'm taking a lot of time here, but
Nope.
this is important.
Yes, sir.
So the low-income housing, it's 10% on this project, right?
It's 15% of the base zoning, so we don't look at the
Okay, you answered
total
my
number of
question.
units.
I was wondering why it wasn't 15%. I keep hearing 10%. It should be 15 if we were to do it. Okay. I guess my opinion is the landlord spent $500,000 trying to do this. If he would have spent $500,000 on his existing property, I think it would be a viable shopping center and something that's beneficial to our community. The last thing I'm going to say is bringing this attorney here, I think was one of your biggest mistakes. When you come in here, after we spent 5 years on a housing element, putting together the general plan, and you come in here and tell me that what we've done is deficient, when we were early, we were one of the first ones to do it. We followed the state mandate to avoid builder's remedy. When you come in here and do a veiled threat like you did, that does not go over well. That actually hurts your case. So that being said, again, I think we do need housing. I've supported the 3 projects that were there. The biggest reason is a big part of it is the mandate, and we had to, or we would get builder's remedy. But this is not a mandate, and this is not something we have to do. In the future, we might have to, but at this point, we don't. And I think I've said enough.
Thank you, Councilman Grandis. A note was passed me. I just want to let the council know the leasing agent of the shopping center is here in the chambers, can also answer questions. His name is William Hugron. So just as a awareness.
My name is William Hugren. I've been leasing the property for 20 years. I've gone to ICSC for about 35 years. I hold 4 of their professional designations. I've been doing this for a long time. The problem with the property is
Mr. Mayor, my understanding was that you were introducing the gentleman, but were you calling him up to make comment, or was?
No, and if there's no objection, maybe just keep your introduction to about a minute.
I just want to make comments on the property as it relates to leasing. The problem with the property, first of all, typical retailers, mom and pops don't exist anymore. The category killers don't, Costco's and the Home Depots, they've killed all the small little guys. So a shopping center like that is really going to cater to service users, hair designers, nail salons, things like that. The property is a mid-block. It's not big enough to have an anchor tenant, so you're not going to have satellite tenants that are going to be able to capitalize on it.
I'm sorry, are you saying anything different than what she said already?
I'm specifically addressing this shopping center. Ideally, it's not big enough to have an anchor tenant. It's a small center. It doesn't have the traffic counts that Brookhurst has. It's not as desirable. I have a hard time getting tenants to even look at it or want to be there. Granted, it could be more cosmetically appealing, but we don't have the traffic counts. We don't have the activity to generate other tenants.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that...
I have trouble getting reservations into Cambalache, which is 200 yards from there. The shopping center is bigger, but it's not that much bigger. It's mid-block. It's the same.
I've had a hard time getting restaurants in there, and I put a few of them in the past.
Maybe we could work with him and help him with that.
Absolutely.
I think we would be willing to help you.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to make a comment.
Yes, Council.
There are several successful restaurants on Warner very close to this location. I had it in my notes, and I forgot to say, I was the one that didn't meet with the developers. I don't recall getting any invite, but just for clarification. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to disclose, I did meet with Mr. Franklin and Mr. Stelrecht. And if you recall, I did give you my advice, which is please consider for sale product, not for rent. And I think I was pretty clear on that, and that's not what you brought. So that's an issue with me. Vice Mayor Harper?
Thank you. Thank you for everybody that came out today to speak in favor or not in support of the project. Appreciate that. Appreciate Planning Commission time and also staff time for all the time they've spent on this project. For me, one of the commenters, Anna Katsuki, made I think a comment that sort of resonated with me, is that the general plan, as we've sort of designed it, considers the long term of the city. And to start zoning things on a project, rezoning on a project-by-project basis, it goes sort of against the long-term vision of the general plan. And so I think, although it might be appropriate in certain circumstances, I think we need to be very careful if we decide to do that, because it does, as she says, can set a precedent, and the people that are surrounding the property who invested thinking it's a certain zoning now all of a sudden have a different zoning. Another thing that Mr. Ayers said, Warner is an established commercial corridor. There's basically commercial from Newland all the way to Bouchard. And I think the other comments I've heard is that there's a perception that the owner has really made little investments in the center with regards to improvements or making it a more desirable center. So, and then the last point is that, there is as our Director Databoy said, there is a low vacancy rate for retail, less than 2% in Fountain Valley. And so, I really think this has the opportunity to be a viable commercial center with some refurbishment investment by the owner. But so that's my comment. I would not support a rezoning at this time.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? Give me one more. Councilmember Bui.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, obviously this is not an easy topic, and it's never is when there's new construction in the city. For me, it is very disheartening to hear that the applicant has spent over $500,000 for this project, and I don't want to send a message that we're not a business-friendly city, but at the same time, we need to address our resident concern. I feel that the applicant did not do a good job doing outreach, hear out the concern of the resident, and how can you mitigate their concern? To work cohesively as a community, just as my mayors have said from the Memorial Care Hospital, they have done a tremendous, outreach, address every level, not only from the resident, but from council, from staff. They address every level, from the Chamber of Commerce as well. They reach every stakeholder in the community, even the fire department and other departments, to really, really grasp, have a global pictures. What do I need to do to make this project forward? So to me, I'm not denying the project, but at the same time, I'm going to abstain because I want to give them an opportunity to work with the city, work with the resident.
No.
Please let the council member speak.
Give them the opportunity and listen to the resident. If there's a path, great. If there's not a path, then I'm sorry, perhaps it's not the right place or the right time. That's what I'd like to see. But I want to ask Omar these questions because this to our former mayor's Cheryl brother comments, and it gets me a little bit thinking, is it common practice for staff not to make any recommendations, whereas you have worked with this applicant for over 3 years? Typically, when you work with an applicant for a long time, there's either some kind of comment, we're not supportive of this project, or we are supportive, but not silent. To me, it's very concerning when you work with an applicant for over 3 years and they spend over $500,000.
So sorry if I misunderstood your original question. I thought you were talking about recommendations to change the project in some way. We made comments to them initially when they first met with us about concerns regarding the change in land use that is commercially zoned. And we had low vacancy rates then, and we have lower vacancy rates now. As I mentioned, we have 1.2% vacancy now, projected to go down to 0.8% next year. And so, we have businesses that we meet with at ICSC that are looking for locations that we just can't find spaces for. So that was our original comment, was that we believe commercial is a viable use there. They came in with a mixed use project with a small 2,000, say, square foot retail business there, but mostly residential. We didn't think, so we gave comments regarding that, that maybe a 2,000 square foot, if you can't lease out 18,000 square feet, you can't lease out 2,000 square feet. That's not viable. So just to go for the residential if they want to do it. If they're going to come in with a residential project, mixed use is probably not the best way to go there because it wouldn't be a successful retail for that small of a site. So we did make comments and suggestions, but we don't go in and tell them to do X, Y, or Z. We respond to the project before us and provide recommendation.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Constantine?
we understand Councilmember Bui intends to potentially abstain yet again. We need to pick a lane here. This is not appropriate. To the attorney for the city, what are the grounds for abstaining? Isn't it like you don't have enough information or you're not present or whatever? This is not okay.
Grounds are council members have discretion to abstain.
I can't even say what I'm thinking.
I guess you must have reviewed the rule then.
And I do want to point out, I think in the second Planning Commission deliberation, it was 2-1-1. So there may have been an abstention at that stage too, but
Mr.
it's
Mayor,
at the discretion of the council.
One last comment. I know I was kind of harsh on you too. Sorry, I was a little. I will say though, when somebody comes into my town and threatens my city with a lawsuit, it gets my blood pressure going. My wife had to send me a text and say, start breathing, because my heart rate was 131. So
okay.
I know I took it out on you a little bit,
okay.
but
No, this is
don't come into my city
I understand.
after we spent 5 years and took I can't say, an S-load of stuff from our residents over approving stuff they didn't necessarily want because we had to, and then come in and tell us you're going to threaten us with builder's remedy. Huge mistake.
Okay, I'm going to make some final comments. Appreciate all of the discussion and for all of the members of the public that have been here for hours. We hear you. I do want to just make a few observations. So we had 15 public comments. I show 11 support the denial, basically don't build this, and 4 want this to move forward, essentially for us to overturn this appeal or overturn and approve. So that says something. So just for, as the public is speaking to us, it's overwhelming disapproval. I want to make a couple comments about the GPAC because that was a volunteer position and I spent a lot of time on that. I was very proud to be part of that group from 2018 until we finished and got the job done. And like Councilmember Grandis mentioned, there was a lot of robust discussion. We had a lot of meetings in this chamber, in other places, to make it easy for folks to join us after work and make it convenient. And we took all things into consideration when it came to zoning. This city never had mixed use 1 or 2. That just didn't exist. And it was a real stretch for us to dig deep and to think about, well, what's best for our future? How are we not only going to meet the mandates, but really what's the next generation? What are my kids, what are our grandkids going to do? They may not want a 7,200 square foot single family residential property, right? Maybe they can't afford it or they just don't want it. And so we made every effort to invite every landowner because I was there. And we hopped on a bus and we went around and we looked at all the properties. We said, hey, raise your hand if you want us to take a look at your property. Brian James, who was the former planning director, I know, made efforts. I know staff did everything they could to get attention. And so it doesn't sit well with me when the excuse is there that I didn't know, I had no clue, right? And that was probably the biggest effort to update our general plan that I remember, living here 33 years. And so that's just my feedback on the GPAC. I'm still not happy with the community outreach. I think other developments have been successful or have had better chances of success because they took the community outreach as serious as they did the design, as serious as they did for all of the studies, if not more. And what I would encourage the applicant and the owner is to learn from that, because there is a hope that there is going to be a successful land use on this property, and we're not shutting down that future opportunity for something that's more in line with what the applicant is thinking. But you have to take all of these factors into consideration. And I'll go back to what I originally recommended. What I hear is folks in Fountain Valley want to buy properties. They want to invest. They like the tax write-off. They like all of the benefits of having ownership. Isn't that the American dream, is to be able to buy property? And so I hope that is taken into serious consideration when you think about the use of that property. A couple other just more concerns, but they worry me, is there are extensive utility lines running both east-west and the large SE corridor that's got major electrical lines running north-south. It just worries me that somebody could have a unit 3 stories up and be basically under or near utility lines. So it's there's some of those kinds of things that just don't sit well with me. And I'll say the very last thing is it wasn't wise for the applicant to have a study that was done 3 years ago. If you're going to come back to us, please have a current study. Please have something that's in the year of the application, because it matters. The world changed a lot since 3 years ago, and the markets change, and there's new administration in Washington. There's new economics, right? So we need to have current studies. So please come back with that current information. So for these and all of the other reasons, I think I support staff's position on maintaining the denials. And I'll say one last thing. I want to commend staff, because both of the resolutions were very well done. One of them's 11 pages, one of them 16 pages. And so if you really want to see how each and every issue was addressed, read the resolution. That actually has it all in one place. I'll open it for
One last comment.
Yeah.
So I also talked to them about doing homes for sale, townhomes, condos, whatever. And the response I got was the owner wanted to leave a legacy for his children. It wasn't something that they were looking to sell. So unless that changes in the future, I don't think that's going to happen.
I see. Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilman.
I just wanted to say, too, I was not on the GPAC initially for the first several years, but I did follow very closely, and I was on for the last period, maybe a year. So followed very closely, too. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, you mentioned that you were part of that drive around the GPAC.
Yes.
Well, thank you for your time, because that was voluntary time, right? That was a long time commitment for 5 years. Just my curious, I wasn't there at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Was one of the sites that you guys drove? I'm just curious.
No.
Okay.
It was not.
All right, so that answered the question that they never received anything, because they were not part of the site. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think.
And Councilman Bui, just to you were a part of the GPAC, because we approved.
Not the driving around. He was talking about the driving around.
Okay.
Yeah, that was actually done early in the process of just evaluating sites that owners wanted us to look at. Okay. Okay, I think we've finished with questions. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion. Item 1, the continued denial.
I'll second that.
So, Rick, a yes vote means
Denial.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are approving staff's recommendation.
Oh, perfect, thank you. I didn't want to get confused.
Motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstention by Councilmember Bui.
If it's the pleasure of the council, may we take a 5-minute
Please.
break? Okay.
Thank God.